Americans out there, I'm very sorry for the news that I'm going to give you today coming out of Janet Yellen, your Treasury Secretary. You have to hear this. Plus, somebody big just bought a ton more Bitcoin. I have much more to talk about, but first, please like and subscribe and check us down below for our CT Club, where you get our trade alerts, our portfolio, and everything we're doing in this space. Let's get into this. So China, Iran, and Saudi Arabia are bypassing the US dollar, essentially. That's what they're doing. And this is putting a lot of pressure on the US dollar. Also, today, yesterday, Kenya signed a deal with Saudi Arabia and the UAE to buy oil with Kenyan shillings instead of US dollars. So yes, it's a big game. They're shifting from one empire to another. This is obviously what's happening right now. But you know, this is going to affect a lot of people. This is going to put a lot of downward pressure on the US dollar, but the US is not going to go down with a fight. Keep in mind that the US military is backing the US dollar, so the US military is going to do whatever it takes to strengthen that US dollar or keep it alive as long as possible. Next up, we have quantitative tightening. I'm going to show you a graph in a second showing you how fast the Fed is increasing their balance sheet, okay? It's like nothing you've ever seen before. And just as I said at the beginning of the year, even last year, I said 2023, there's gonna be more currency printing than any other time you've ever been alive, okay? So it took 2 years of Fed tightening to be reversed in 2 weeks. Check this graph out and look at the very end. So see that big spike up? Yeah, that means lots more currency printing, lots more inflation. You haven't seen anything yet. Balaji, he wrote, this is very good what he wrote. Yeah, there's a lot of things that I agree with him. I don't agree with the 90 days that Bitcoin's gonna be $100 or $1 million. But here's what he said. Emergency Sunday Fed print for domestic banks. 2 trillion estimate of amount to be printed. 18 trillion of all bank deposits, right? 186 banks reported similarly insolvent. Okay, 500 billion wired from banks seeking safe haven. So you have the consolidation of banks. $150 billion in discount window, more than 2008. 400 billion printed, just as I showed you that graph, reversing most of quantitative tightening. You had an emergency Sunday meeting Fed print for foreign banks. Joint Sunday statement, US banks are resilient. That's a bad sign. When banks say we're good, when central banks say that everything's fine, it's not fine. You do the opposite of what they say. They're lying. They do not know, and they are not capable of telling you the truth. Okay, 5, dead banks, including too big to fail Credit Suisse, rumbles of Deutsche Bank, rumbles of Charles Schwab. Another statement that US banks are resilient. Statements, further actions may be necessary. It's not looking good. And this is obviously, I'm gonna tell you again, I'm gonna beat a dead horse right here, is that they are setting people up for a CBDC because they're gonna print this currency, the US dollar, into absolute oblivion. But you can't have hyperinflation with a CBDC, can you? No more bank runs. It's gonna be the savior. That's how it is. But, okay, so Janet Yellen, she was in front of a hearing, right? And somebody asked her, so 31 trillion of debt and 109% debt to GDP doesn't bother you? She says, no, because we can handle that amount of debt, right? And so not only did he ask that, but he asked, so how much debt is too much debt? And she says, we can handle debt. She never answered the question, which means it should be so blaringly obvious. Why don't they say this on like CNBC or something to wake people up? They are hell-bent to destroy the US dollar. That's it. The US dollar has been around for 40 something years. it's finished. It'll take a while for it to go down even more. But since 1971, it's lost like 80% of its value. Plus, we have Biden's new budget request, right, for taxpayers, right? This is tax increases. They're asking for $4.7 trillion from taxpayers. Guys, this is really bad, like really bad. And it's only going to get worse because that's $11,000 per man, woman, and child. If I think there's like 370 million people in the U.S., that's 400 million. So obviously it's more than $11,000 per person. That's only going to get worse because you guys are going to pay for it, whether it's through taxes or inflation, because there's going to be so much inflation, so much taxes. It's an absolute mess, right? So let's speak of more of a mess. U.S. authorities are weighing an expansion of an emergency lending facility. This is from Bloomberg. What does that mean? It just means that they're going to have more places to where they're going to go, hey, we need to print more money to give to banks. That's essentially what it is. So no matter how reckless banks are, they're going to bail them out. Fed Reserve, Treasury, they're just going to bail them out. And so they can just do whatever they want and just have no consequences whatsoever. Okay, so lastly, we have Larry Fink. This is what I've been saying since I started this channel. Larry Fink says tokens are the next generation for markets. So who is Larry Fink? He is the CEO of BlackRock. It's not your friend, definitely not our friend, but still he knows that a tokenized economy is coming. Now, here's what probably they're not saying here, is that it's probably going to be a CBDC economy, right? So you're going to have, instead of price in dollars, stocks and bonds or whatever, it's probably going to be priced in the new central bank digital currency. That's what he's talking about. It's probably not talking about crypto, okay? But it could be. So who knows what's going to happen? I don't know. I'm just telling you what I see happening as the news comes out. And there's so much news coming out right now. Lastly, this is the last one, I promise. So MicroStrategy's Michael Saylor, he bought a lot more Bitcoin. I think like 4,000 more, 5,000 more Bitcoin. Now he has 138,955 Bitcoin acquired for $4.14 billion at an average price of $29,817. So yeah, I agree with him that he should probably get as much Bitcoin as possible because of what is about to happen to that country and worldwide, because the whole world is the debt bubble is absolutely bursting right now. That's all. See you later. Bye-bye.